Hello once again folks. In this video I'll be showing you how to give an old dilapidated plane like this one a new lease of life. To do what I'm going to show you in this video, you're going to need a couple bits and pieces. First you'll need some distilled vinegar, wet and dry sandpaper. I used 400 and 1200 grit. Some normal sandpaper comes in handy as well. And a perfectly flat surface. I've used a old tile that I found. You could use plate glass, anything with a machined or manufactured completely smooth and flat surface would be great. You've also got some optional extras, a honing guide. I'd recommend one of these if your blade is very chipped. It will save you a lot of heartache, and doing it by hand is a nightmare. Diamond sharpening stones are very useful if you've got, again, a lot of damage to the blade and you just want to get as much material off as quickly as possible. Paint, obviously, if you want to paint it. And a little bit of salt, and I'll show you what I do with that a bit later. So let's get straight to it. This is an old 110 Stanley plane. Comes in 4 pieces, well technically 5. Mine's missing its knob, so I'm going to sort that out. Watch the fine print as well when you're ordering knobs, because my first one came a little bit too small. Second one came a little bit too large, but I can work with that, and I'll show you how I shave that down a little bit later. So first things first, vinegar. This is just white distilled vinegar. What I used, some little toothpicks just to raise the flats off of the bottom of the tub there. Just lets the vinegar circulate round. If anybody's desperate for the loo at the minute, I do apologise. Although peeing vinegar is not a fate I would wish upon my worst enemy. So that's what I do with a little bit of salt. What that does is increases the acidity a little bit of the vinegar. Now we're going straight into the future. This is 48 hours later. The rust just scrubs off really nicely. What I would recommend doing is drying them off straight away, because I did notice a little bit of oxidization happening just after I'd scrubbed all the stuff off, but yeah. So this is before the vinegar bath, and some people would say that all this pitting is ugly, but I actually really think it just adds character to an old tool. So this is what it looks like after its bath. As you can see, all the rust and corrosion's come off. We're going to go straight on to painting. Just taping off what I don't want. Obviously I'm an advocate of keeping all of the patina and whatever, so I'm just going to clear coat most of the plane. That way I get to preserve all of that lovely character. So this is my method of painting that knob thing. I'm sure it's got a name, but I can't think of it at the minute. I stick it on the end of a pen, give her a little spray. This is the only part that I actually colour. I colour it in a bronzy sort of metallic paint that I had floating about. The nice thing about that as well is that to dry you just stick it in the ground somewhere, and yeah. So here's me clear coating. I'm just covering the lever cap and the body. I'm being quite careful to make sure that I do an even coat and make sure it's nicely covered. I do go back for a second go, but I'm not going to show it here, it's pretty pointless. You get the idea. So once it's all painted, as you can see, it's nicely locked in, all of that chips and age, but just giving it a nice sheen. And that knob looks pretty cute. So straight onto the sharpening of the blade. So you can see that's my nice flat tile there. That's my diamond sharpening stone. Yeah, just using double-sided sticky tape, sticking them all down. I got my 400 grit and 1200 grit there, and they'll be mostly for polishing. We'll be doing most of the grind work with that diamond stone. Now, I actually found out that my blade isn't exactly straight on the end. The factory edge, well, I think it's the factory edge anyway, is slightly off 90 degree, and also I've got a little chip down in that corner. Kind of difficult to see there. So what I'm going to first do is use my square like this and just try my best to bring down that edge to a straight flat angle. Now if you try and see there, what you end up with is a flat on the blade edge, and what we're going to do is try and use that diamond stone to grind that back until that flat can no longer be seen. Now that is my honing guide. It's a bit cheapy Chinesey, but it did the job well enough. What I'm going to do is double check the angle on it. You want somewhere between 22 and 25 degrees if you can find it. The great thing about these honing guides is that you kind of can just lock it in there and forget about it, and then just start grinding away, and you can kind of more or less trust that they're not going to go out of angle at some point. But especially when you've got a lot of grinding to do, I mean, it probably took me about an hour to grind that down. I don't think the quality of my stone was particularly great, but yeah. At this point I've ground most of the blade down, and I'm just polishing out the flat. I've seen people debate whether this is actually worth it, but I've always found that it's actually reasonably important, especially if you're going to strop it afterwards. So you can see that's kind of the blade edge on the flat of the blades, nice and done. And that's my strop. If you want that nice polished razor sharp edge, you kind of need a strop. I've never been able to get a blade shaving sharp quite like that without a strop. Now moving straight on to the flattening out of the belly of the plane. This is quite important if you want a nice performance out of this. What we're looking for is a nice flat area around the mouth where the blade protrudes. You can see there's a bit of a spot on the belly there, but that's nothing really to worry about. That's not going to affect anything. As long as it's all nice and smooth where all the action happens, that's all we're worried about. That sounds dodgy. Speaking of dodgy, let's put my knob in a drill chuck. This is my little poverty lathe. I've got a Hoover on in the background, just sucking up all the dust. I'm just using my Dremel and sandpaper really to shape that knob down to size. As you can see, it kind of comes off every once in a while. I have to push it back on. But actually this isn't too bad. It was gesturing about quite a lot, so I had to go back afterwards and attempt to sort of round it back out again by hand. But at the end of the day, it worked. So this is pretty much the last component of my plane all ready to go. So whack all the bits together, and there we have it, one fully restored number 110 Stanley plane. So thanks for watching, folks. If you liked the video, then press the like button. If you have a comment, let me know in the comment. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, then hit the subscribe button. My name is Luke, and I shall see you next time.